was a little frustrating.
This is your manhandled in Motown leader fan radio network.
It was a little frustrating.
And KFAN.com. 1 minute and 50 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock. That's Central Standard Time. Welcome back. It is a Monday edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a still pretty chilly Monday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro. I am the host of the program, and looky here, Guardsy is back, reunited, and it feels so good. Welcome back.
To the spotlight, young man.
Congratulations on your big bowl victory and your Duke's Mayo experience. I'm sure we'll get to that before, if not this show, this week is done. There will be a lot of exploration, post-morteming on what took place as the Minnesota Vikings were manhandled in Motown. I think that's fair to say, despite the deceptive nature of the score early. And we'll have some very good guests, I think, to help us get through all of that. And that will include, I didn't even realize Jonny Athletic was going to be in studio. That's outstanding.
For, 3:30 to 4:15.
That's great. So he will be in about a half hour. Nacho Lieber will be by phone at 4:47. Cam Bynum is scheduled for 5:30 this evening, and Guardsy reminds us that we are out 15 minutes early today at 6:15. I must tell you that the last message I tried to convey during sermons, despite the fact that I did pick the Lions to win, was enjoy the hell out of it, because as important as the stakes seem to be, I guess I was basing it on the assumption that play free. Just play it out. Because, again, worst case scenario is you lose, and you're going to have to go on the road, but you're still a formidable team. And my assumption, even though I picked the Lions to win, was it was going to be close. It was going to go down to very much the wire, where you say, no worse for the wear. Disappointing, right? If you do not find a way to win it, but you don't come out of it. I didn't expect that no matter what took place, win or lose, that the Vikings would have that sick taste in their mouths that they got manhandled in Motown. That's the scenario I will frankly tell you I did not see coming. I did think going into the game that too many people were underestimating the Detroit Lions' quality. And as much as we like to think that we've got the greatest collaborative process and the greatest spirit and the greatest, in-house chemistry that's ever been created in football, there are other teams who might feel the same way, and I think the Lions are one of them. I think if you pull the Lions, they say, we got something special here, right? And I thought they'd already shown, despite all the injuries, such resourcefulness that I said, and they're playing at home. Be careful about just assuming that this is necessarily the Vikings' time. Having said all that, I didn't see that nonsense coming. Ultimately, the Vikings were completely, I thought, outplayed, and I thought they were utterly and completely outcoached. Utterly. And I thought, like a lot of people, maybe this game is the referendum on National Football League Coach of the Year. Let's see how this game goes.
Certainly could be.
For me, it is now. For me, it's game, set, match. The Coach of the Year is based in the Motor City. Period, end of story. And you can say, well, wait a minute. They just made it to the NFC title game last year. They've got a lot of talent. Yeah, they've had a good season. But look at what KOC did with a quarterback that he picked up off the scrap heap. And that, I'd probably put him second. But I don't know how you come out of last night's game and think anything but the Coach of the Year in the National Football League is Dan Campbell. And it may even be you give an assist to his defensive coordinator and his offensive coordinator, but it's his staff, right? It's his deal. And it was total. I forgot to bring the printout, so I'll just go ahead and get it online right now. To me, this is the essence of what took place yesterday. What was the final score? 31-9?
Sounds right.
I think this captures it. This distills it perfectly. And this is why Dan Campbell is the National Football League Coach of the Year. He was asked about his defense's approach for this game, which was basically blitz every other play. Highest percentage, apparently, of zero blitzing in the history of the National Football League. And it worked. Now, you could say, well, the Vikings quarterback was wildly inaccurate. We'll get to that. We'll explore all of that as well, because that's certainly true. Did you read the Campbell quote? Darnold has really played better and better every week. It feels like he's just continued to make this gradual climb and continued to improve. And what you really see is, man, when he gets the play action pass and they nudge the edges, or they'll max protect on some of this stuff, 2 receiver routes, 3 receiver routes, and he can see it, and he has time, he's deadly. And we could not allow that to happen. We didn't feel like there was any way we could let him sit back there because we did think he would pick us apart.
It's genius coaching.
It's that's
so good.
Coach of the Year stuff.
Yeah, it is.
That's him saying, we might get destroyed. We might get burned doing what we're doing, but I know damn well we're going to get burned and get picked apart, kind of like they were by the San Francisco 49ers, who aren't even in the playoffs last week, if we do not do something this dramatic. His last quote, we tried to bring more than they could handle. Vikings were not prepared for any of it. They had no answers for any of it, and that's gets me back to KOC. It's not his fault if his quarterback is suddenly inaccurate. There were open receivers in the end zone.
Especially early.
We'll cover all that as well before we're done. That's not on the head coach. But part of coaching to me is he's off today. Something funky's going on right now. I can't settle him down. Well, maybe I'll settle him down by doing something novel as, let's start cutting off these long, late arriving routes. Let's go short. Let's take 4 yards here, 7 yards there. Let's stop dropping him back because it arouses me, and we've been able to do it so well over the course of the season. If the conditions on this occasion don't match up for that, that's not going to work. Now, none of it might have mattered because the Lions are a better football team. Let's just face it. Their offense, I love B-Flow. I don't blame the defense at all, especially through the first 3 quarters of the game. They put the Vikings in position to be in control of that game, and the Vikings offense did nothing with it. But ultimately, how many points did the Lions get again? 30.
Mm-hmm.
Every game against us, they've scored 30 or more under B-Flow. They're good. We got a cute offense, and it's above average. It ain't the Lions offense. Period. Full stop. End of story. And there was a quote. In fact, this is from the Star Tribune piece by Andrew Kramer from your guy, Garrett Bradbury. Did you see this quote? It's kind of all connected. Actually, this quote is from Brian O'Neill. It was just a variety of looks we saw. Where the first game, they did 1 or 2 or 3 things over and over again. This week, we kind of saw the whole Rolodex of things, so that might have had something to do with it. Bradbury, they brought a lot. They brought everything. I think they brought SAW. Do you know what SAW is, Guardsy?
I read this quote. It's like a double-edged something.
Double blitzers off each edge. Sounds scary.
SAW.
3 times in the first 2 drives, a lot of twists, a lot of different pressures, safeties, bringing all-out pressure. Frustrating thing is I didn't feel like they got home on a lot of those, which is not totally wrong. Obviously, they affected the plays, but we didn't play good enough offensively. That was a coaching butt-whooping and a player's execution butt-whooping as well. And like everybody, I understand that if the Vikings go to Los Angeles, California, and take care of business against the Rams, it will be easier to put it in the rearview mirror, right? There's that opportunity. The Vikings are favored to win this game. The Vikings should win this game. They are a better team than the Los Angeles Rams of Anaheim. But it's harder, I think, to get the taste out of your mouth when it's as thorough a butt-whooping, both in terms of player, mano a mano, And as I said, coach versus coach. Because it wasn't close. And KOC provided no alternatives, no answers. Might want to run. Here's the other thing that slays me. Watch the way the Lions, when the Lions have 3rd and 8, what do they often do? They run the ball on 3rd down. They say, let's get 4.
Because they're going for it.
Because we're going for it, and we still know we can pass. But they run it on 3rd and 7. The Vikings never run it on 3rd and 7, even in situations where you say, we're going for it on 4th down. We just don't. Now, again, they have a better offensive line than we do. They have the best offensive line in football. But we were running the ball pretty well yesterday. And at times very well yesterday, right? And I know I agreed that we became more of a passing team because it made sense over the course of the season, because the tight end got healthy. And, Darnold had been passing very well. But coaching to me is always about looking at the other team, giving you the best chance to beat that other team, to exploit their weaknesses, or even it's acknowledging your own weaknesses. Because in effect, that's what Campbell did, right? In saying what he said.
This is how we'll lose. We can't let it happen.
We're going to get diced up by this guy. That's quite an admission. That's great coaching. And we didn't provide any of the answers. We didn't respond. We didn't adjust. We didn't, quite frankly, do any of that. And then it's the question of, well, should we have gone for the field goal when we were going for it? And then vice versa, should we have gone for it when we tried to kick the long field goal? We could drive ourselves crazy looking at that. There was a point before the fourth quarter where I was so convinced of how well the Vikings were playing defensively that I did say, just keep kicking field goals. Don't even try to score touchdowns anymore, which sounds insane against the Lions. And ultimately it was. Because ultimately, even a great defensive performance, and it was, I think, for 3 quarters, a great defensive performance by the Vikings, it's going to turn sideways. The Lions are too good, especially at home, right? And ultimately, what did they do when they got in the red zone? They scored touchdowns. Did we score any touchdowns? No. You've seen the stat. There's a million stats about
a lot of numbers.
Red zone. This is the one that got me. I've got 14 plays, 10 net yards, 2 for 11 passing. Here's the order. A run for 2, incomplete, 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 run for 1, pass completion for 4, incomplete, run for 0, completion for 3, incomplete, and incomplete.
And that's a fact.
You can't. There might be. There's rumors about the possibility of great moments, the return of great moments in a kick-ass.
Is that right?
Red zone offense. I haven't confirmed it with anybody, but that's the rumor out there. So, yeah, I'm more worked up than I thought I would be because I thought the Vikings would lose. I really did. And I didn't even mean it as an insult to the Vikings. So the Lions are at home. They're resourceful. They're good. But I never saw, I have to say, I didn't see that coming at all. And it's the football gods are cruel, man. This has been such a wonderful season, and it feels like it's gone away in an instant. It doesn't have to, because the postseason is just beginning, and you could say, well, maybe this will work to their advantage. Expectations are down the toilet, right? Now, a lot of people are expecting they're going to go to L.A. and lose.
They'll play the nobody believed in us card as a 14-win team.
Exactly right. And they might be right in this case. And then, if all goes according to Hoyle, they could end up back in Detroit, as Campbell said.
I'll take it.
To with the head coach and see if we can figure this out the second time around. Let's get our first pause in. Johnny, as I said, as Guardsy now reminds me, is in at 3:30 this evening. I guess we got some B-Flow news to discuss as well, and a couple of other nuggets as we continue.
And now, famous moments in a
Kick-ass
red zone
offense.
There's the snap. Darnold back to pass. Rolls out to the left. Floats it to the end zone. And he throws it out of bounds and back into the first row of fans.
Join us again for another famous moment in a
Kick-ass
red zone
offense.
I'm glad. There's a lot to discuss with Johnny. We'll certainly explore the Vikings' misadventures in Detroit. Did we, Guardsy, get any kind of follow-up on, I'm sure you heard about the story that broke over the weekend that the magnanimous Wolves said, hey, we'll plunk down a couple mil for upwards of, 1,900 tickets?
Yeah.
Mostly behind the visitors' bench, and we'll offer them up to stakeholders, basically the Mark Rosens of the world. And,
right, I'm sure he was there. Yeah.
And then a few season ticket holders, because we got texts from season ticket holders who said they were contacted, in some cases living as far away as California. I don't know how many how many people took up on that idea, took the Vikings up on it. But do we know how many Vikings stakeholders actually ended up with those tickets, what the percentage was, and how many of them left early?
I don't know the original percentage, but to the second question, a majority, I would say. I don't know how many people actually showed up in the 1,900, but I would guess most of them did leave early.
It'd be hard to blame
Wouldn't
anybody.
you have?
Yeah,
yes. It couldn't have been a fun experience.
No. Well, the good news is we had the Chief on yesterday, because the Chief, of course, is born and bred in Detroit. Long-suffering Detroit Lions fan, but now one of us. He lives here, right? And
he's like our Jeff Daniels.
Pretty close. Yeah, that's true.
Long-time Lions.
A Vikings pregame show way back in the day, maybe before you were even born. I'm in Detroit. This was back in, I want to say, Silverdome days. And Mark Ginther was a program director of the station way back then. And he was also on this trip doing some of the production work. And he comes up to me, and I don't even know if I was technically on the pregame show then or not. But he says, hey, he goes, I just ran into Jeff Daniels. Would you consider interviewing him for the pre? Are you kidding me? Had a great conversation. He's a very good guy, very interesting guy.
He seems very willing and very able.
Very willing, very good talker, and he did the introduction, the very serious,
by the fireplace,
arty introduction to this game. But I thought he handled it well. He had the old-fashioned Lions helmet. By the way, I'm in love with the uniforms that the Lions wore last night.
I like their helmets in particular.
Just beautiful.
It was good.
It's a great combination of colors, I think. I don't think you can say enough aesthetically about that, but I digress. Where was I going? I don't remember. Was it about Johnny?
No, it wasn't about Johnny.
Johnny's coming up soon.
Jeff Daniels. You were talking about him.
I don't even remember. The fans, the people leaving. Yeah, the people leaving. The point with the Chief was, this isn't going to be like, I said, this isn't going to be like an Eagles fan situation, right? Because in Philadelphia, if that story breaks, several fans are killed.
Well, no one's stupid enough to do it in Philadelphia.
Well, that's probably true.
Nobody. Which isn't funny. I don't even think it's funny at this point.
Well, we might have to.
Well, no one's going.
That's part of the problem is we got to get through. Unless Philly gets up. There's some people who pick in Green Bay over. I'm not picking Green Bay on anything anymore.
No.
They have to prove to me that they're up to it. And who told me this? Somebody said it. The Eagles' offense is a little weird, in terms of the passing game, inconsistent. But that pound for pound, offensive line and defensive line, they might be the best team in football.
Makes sense.
So
they've also won 14 games.
Yeah, and they're. I mean, think of what a chamber of horrors that has been for us.
And Watson, your guy Christian Watson's done.
That's true.
ACL.
Well, and even the QB, didn't he have like a funny bone injury
Jordan
or something?
Love, funny bone.
He thinks I assume they think he's going to play. The Bears won that game, which is astonishing, in all honesty. So the good news is I think the worst it got in terms of like trolling was Lions fans doing the Skol chant, which they might have done anyway.
Yeah.
Because I did ask the question yesterday during the Sunday Sermons program, could this be bulletin board material for the Lions?
I wondered the same.
Because because of the way players are wired. Not that it had to be viewed that way.
Oh, you think you're coming to Ford Field?
Exactly.
Yeah, you think you're coming to our place? It's that easy?
Awfully presumptuous of you.
I totally
Did
I agree
anybody
with you.
say that in the Lions locker room after the game?
I didn't see it. No, I didn't. I only watched the Dan Campbell post-game locker room speech, because everyone's aroused by those now. We're going to hear a segment or two of that in the talking points when we get to them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't watch any of the locker room, except one guy. Somebody asked him, what's it like to win your first NFC North, one of the rookies? And he said, I'm from Alabama, man. I'm used to this.
Oh,
basically, I'm a winner.
How gobsmacked were you?
I was gobsmacked that the offense was such a train wreck, and it just continued to be a train wreck. And if I'm doing the pecking order, the pie chart of blame, It's Darnold for sure at the top of the list, right?
Yes.
Because I actually think KOC clearly had him ready to go in the first quarter, dialing up a couple of things that were wide open, and Darnold missed. You want to start with the first third down to Hawkinson?
The big one over the middle on, the first one. And then there was the 3rd and 17.
There was another one where he
could have converted to Hawkinson over the middle.
And we've seen those completed all year long. And then obviously the stuff in the red zone, which was just farcical. And, whether it was completely missing Addison, not even looking his way, or overthrowing JJ, or having JJ bobble one.
Yeah, the Addison, that was the one where he came across towards the middle, and literally at the start of the play, he's wide open. Darnold's looking at him.
Yeah.
And instead it's, I got to get the ball to JJ.
Not to be confused with the one where Addison was breaking to the top of the screen to the right, just across the end zone. So KOC, I thought, was on his game early, but didn't recognize that his quarterback was not, and never changed it up when they could have. And all that being said, I know it ended up being a beatdown, but they were a Van Gink pick six away from being 1 point down. So there was a lot of crap that went wrong.
They were never going to score again.
Well, if Van Ginkel got tackled at the 6,
that's it.
They weren't going to punch it in.
If they would have thrown 4 straight times from the 3.
Yes,
they'd have said, keep throwing. Because that's what we do. We throw. This is bizarre.
So that was the issue.
That was there for him. There's no question about that. So, as I understand it, the New York Jets have asked for permission to talk to our guy Beeflo. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think Josh McCown too.
That's right. McCown. I'm glad you reminded me. I didn't hear that earlier. The Bears are requesting an interview not only with Ben Johnson, but who's the Cowboys head coach?
Mike McCarthy?
Mike McCarthy.
Wow.
Because it's kind of open-ended in Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas is not, sort of locked in on staying with Mike McCarthy. There had been speculation that it might go that way, and that McCarthy did have some interest in the Bears job if, Jerry Jones wasn't interested in keeping him. So, stuff's going to come. A lot of stuff's going to come quickly and wildly, I think, the next few days, because there's a lot of openings, right?
Yep.
And
Doug Peterson just got fired,
We might have some dogs in this fight. How many first-rounders will it take for you to be willing to trade KOC?
Before yesterday? 6.
Now down to 3?
2.5. Yeah, maybe a Rudy deal.
We'll find out if Johnny has any interest in that kind of trade. We'll find out if Johnny's got any Timberwolves trade steam as well.
You think they need to make a move? The Wolves?
Yeah.
You don't like what we're seeing?
I don't love it, but it doesn't appear as if the team is ready to do anything all that shocking at this point. So we'll get to Johnny, his reaction to what took place in the Motor City, and a lot more. If you have questions for him, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. We'll also explore some Vikings talking points that Guardsy has put together with him as well.
And now, famous moments in a
kick-ass
red zone
offense.
3rd and goal from the 3 for Sam Darnold out of the shotgun. 2 receivers left and right. Hawkinson goes in motion. Detroit blitz. Pass to the left side of the end zone. Incomplete. Darnold overshot T.J. Hawkinson for at least the 2nd time this game.
Join us again for another famous moment in a
kick-ass
red zone
offense.
Yeah.
It's time for Jonny Athletic, Jonny Athletic, Jonny Athletic. And he's on with Dan Barreiro right now.
Not only on, but in studio. This is a fairly emotional situation. And you're brought to us by our good friends at RBC Wealth Management once again. Welcome back.
Glad to be back. Glad to have RBC Wealth Management back on the train for the stretch run here, Wolves season, and wrapping up the Vikings run too. So very thankful for that and glad to be here.
I want to open up with a Vikings talking point that I call there are certain immutable football rules that simply cannot be violated.
7th first down for the Lions. They lead the NFL most first downs per game at 24. Play action for Goff on first down from under center. Very deep drop. Intercepted! It got picked off as he threw it to the right. And it's intercepted by Ivan Pace Jr. And he's taken down at the 6-yard line. Ivan Pace Jr. with a scoop and score week 7. He just picked off Jared Goff, and he's trying to own the day. From the Vikings 36, 37, 10-6 Lions, first possession of the second half. The Lions have never had the 1 seed in the history of Detroit Lions football. Darnold under center, gives it to Akers. Nice hole, up the middle of the 40, 45. Sprints the Lions territory to the 40, runs to the 30, gets the boundary at the 15, down at about the 6. Cam Akers with a 58-yard run, first and goal, Minnesota. Will Riker, 25-yard try, snap, spot, and it is good.
Johnny, a question. If in two different possessions that were just offered up there, one, the Pace interception, the other, the Akers scamper, you are starting at the Lions 7 and the Lions 5. First down, the 7 and the 5. And you are unable to score a single touchdown. Aren't you violating the basic precepts of wanting to win a football game? You can't. To me, that we can boil down the game a lot of different ways, but to me, that's where it starts. Those are big plays that you go, these are game-changing kind of plays. This is our game right now. Let's seize it. And, of course, they didn't even come close to scoring a touchdown on either one of them. Did they end up with field goals on both or just one of the two?
Just one.
Just one of the two.
Yep.
To me, that's the ballgame.
You're right. And especially because everyone knew going into this game or everyone certainly expected that it was going to be a high-scoring game. And Dan Campbell was doing the same thing of you get closer, you're going for it on fourth downs because you need touchdowns, not field goals. And so when you get into that close, right on the door, you have those receivers against a banged-up defense, and you cannot cash in right away, even though they went into halftime right in it. I was like, that's not a good sign. This does not look like it's going to. How often do you see a team win those games when they have stumbled the way that the Vikings did early in the? And
you assume at some point, because the Lions have the best offense in football, they're going to start.
Yes.
No matter how cleverly and smartly your defense is played, that's going to catch up with you. And ultimately it did. I think they were red zone 3 times. They got 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, Gibbs was dynamic and just, the best player on the field. And what we saw from the first matchup at US Bank Stadium is you kind of knew that Ben Johnson had a good feel for B-flow. And Jared Goff doesn't get rattled really. Even he had the interception and stuff, but you just knew that their talent offensively was going to be such that they were going to start cashing in and that they were going to rack up yards. And every possession that the Vikings stopped them early, you were just stealing time. And that's when your offense has to cash in, has to get points on the board, has to run that score up, because it is only a matter of time for the Detroit Lions offense before they really get rolling. And that's what happened.
So technically speaking, the season is over and the playoffs are just beginning. It's not like in any sort of tiebreaker sense or point differential sense, the Vikings are behind because they got murdered in Motown. 31-9, I think was the final score. But there are losses and there are losses. So that's, to me, the obvious question moving forward into Monday night. Is it, in your mind, going to be more difficult, no matter what this team says, to sort of shake off the loss because of the nature of the loss, not that they just went to Detroit and lost it all?
I actually think it may work the other way in terms of they were so bad that this is a wake-up call. They'd won all those games in a row. Everything had been working out in their favor, and they had pulled some rabbits out of their hats along the way on that stretch.
Right.
And now this was the eye-opener that, hey, we're not going to be able to get away with that stuff against really, really good teams. It's time to lock in. It's time to refocus. And, I think back to last basketball season when the Timberwolves got blown out by Phoenix at the end of the year and they had not beaten them all year long. And, oh no, now they have to play the Suns in the first round. And you think, well, this is going to carry over. They have no chance. And they went and swept them. So I do think that I've said it for weeks now. I do not think that the Viking season is automatically over now. I think they can go on the road. I think they can beat any of these teams. They can lose to any of them. But maybe this is the sign here of like, wow, we really took it on the chin. We did not play up to our standard it's time to wake up and get ready for that game on Monday night.
In Darnold's case, did his performance do anything to whatever your thinking was regarding his season and even how committed to keeping him here the Vikings should be?
Not yet, but it certainly was startling to me. I mean, because that was just a terrible performance. I mean, he was missing open receivers by 6 inches or a foot and really cost them early on to stay in that game. Right now, just given the body of work that I've seen, I'm going to say, let's just bad game. Maybe he was too jittery. Maybe he wanted it too much. Let's move past it. If it happens in the playoffs now, if it happens in the Rams game and he's off kilter, I do think that factors into it. I think you have to add that to your evaluation of what you do with him going forward, because he's come through in major spots already this season, but these are now the money-making spots. And he's 0 for 1, and now you're going into the Rams on Monday night. It's going to be another national game. Everyone's going to be watching end of the week, night game on the road.
It's the only other team you lost to this year.
How do you respond to it? And I think it's an important game for him, for how the Vikings view him, for what you want to do going forward. I believe that.
Do you think that there was a report, I think via Fox, before the game, that the Vikings, that there are several teams that are going to approach the Vikings, if they hadn't already, basically to say, hey, any chance, because your head coach's contract situation is not settled, coaches get traded.
Yep. Might
you consider something like that? Do you believe that's something the Vikings might consider, leaving aside the jokes about the performance yesterday, or that they should consider?
No, I absolutely not. And I don't think, this is, when you look at the way the Wilf family has run this organization, they want it to be Pittsburgh Steelers-like. They want it to be consistent, stable, have that leadership there. And, I am 100% certain that Jay Glazer is right, that there are plenty of teams that would love to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if some of that came from the KOC agent as well, in terms of ramping up the leverage in his negotiations. But I don't see any scenario where the Wilfs let him walk out the door. He is clearly a rising young coach that has the complete devotion and loyalty of his players. He's built up a great culture and system here, and he's everything that the Wilfs want in a leader, as far as someone that you can work with, and someone that can be here for a very long time. And so they're going to pay him. They're going to figure that part of it out. And if they were to let him go, I just think that I think to this along many years ago, when Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator here, he came up to me at training camp, just off the cuff conversation. He said, John, tell me the 2 most important people in a football organization. And I said, I said quarterback and owner. And he said, oh, no, I think it's quarterback and head coach. So if you get those 2 things, you have to ride that more than anything. It is the most. And they have the head coach. We'll see about the quarterback and what they do. But if you have that guy, you just have to do whatever you have to do to hold on to him.
O'Connell, today, what I can tell you is I love this team. I love everything about this organization. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to keep coaching and leading. So, I would be pretty gobsmacked if we woke up one day and the Vikings were announcing some kind of a trade. I mean, I don't even know what you could get at this point. Been a while. When's the last time a coach has been traded?
There was one, right? It
Probably
happened.
John Gruden.
That's right.
Gruden was traded.
Yep.
And was that
anybody since then?
2 1s or 1? I don't even remember what it was.
There was at least one first-round pick.
One first-round pick.
But I don't think you do it.
B-Flow apparently is going to interview. At least the Jets have asked for permission to talk. I don't know if he's agreed to be interviewed. That's not always automatic, because sometimes coaches decide, I'm not, vibing with that situation, so I don't know, but not a surprise.
Not a surprise. Yeah, he's had an unbelievable 2-year run here, and especially this season. You look at also, I think, he has a connection to Ryan Poles too, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I think they know each other. They were teammates or something like that. And so, I think he's going to get a lot of attention around there, and the Patriots as well. He was in the Patriots organization, so I wouldn't be surprised for him to get a look there as well. What I've said all along with Brian Flores is, I just wonder if another ownership group is going to go down that road, given all the way things went down in Miami, and he may be completely in the right about that, and he may be,
or maybe he's changed,
but with the lawsuit, with all of that stuff like that scares people off, especially when you're a black head coach. That's a part of the thing here.
What surprised you the most about last night?
What surprised me the most about last night was,
if anything, maybe you picked the Lions to dominate.
No, I didn't. I picked the Vikings to win by 1 point, 37-36, and I thought it was going to be high scoring.
You're haughty because you did a 2-point victory over the Packers, and you nailed it, and so you start getting full of yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I think I got high on my own supply a little bit. But what I was just most surprised at at the imprecision of the offense. We've talked a lot about Darnold. And he deserves a lot of the blame. But I will also say that Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison had man coverage almost the entire game.
Yeah, but the Lions cheated.
Well, I mean, come on.
They held on every play.
Yeah,
so if you hold on every play, they're not going to call it on every play. Yeah. So therefore, they didn't really have a chance.
That's a good point.
They budget in a couple penalties, Mike. Yeah. Every game they try to do this.
Yep. The refs got us once again. But
was that Collinsworth?
That was pretty good.
That wasn't bad.
It was Collinsworth. I think there was like some Foxworthy in there. I'm not sure.
You might be a redneck.
By the way, Sean Payton got traded from the Saints to because he was still under contract to the Broncos.
Okay.
Saints got a first-round pick and a second for Peyton. New Orleans sent off a third-round to Denver as well. And then Gruden was a couple of firsts, a couple of seconds, and $8 million back in the day.
So KOC would get like 4 firsts.
Apparently.
And
It'd
be the Rudy deal. It'd be the Gobert deal.
It'd be the Gobert deal.
You're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where were we? Oh, I will say, to your point, I also think it was not O'Connell's finest hour. Mm-hmm. I don't blame him for his quarterback being wild high, because there were opportunities early, for sure. But I do believe, and I think Collinsworth got into this discussion at some point too, when you read especially what Campbell said, which was, we're not stupid. We were going to get diced up if we didn't do what we did, which was we're bringing everybody. We're going to go zero blitz a bunch. And it's not like they always got to him, but they made him nervous. And I think they sped him up. And then you're going, well, let's see. Can you maybe, shorten some of those pass routes? Can you go to a little more, what you could say, West Coast controlled passing game? Can you screen a little bit? That to me I thought it was a coaching blowout last night. I really did. I don't even think it was, I think it was a flat out rout.
I agree with you. Yeah. Because I think that the Lions kept doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I don't know if Kevin O'Connell expected them to eventually change things up or what exactly led to it, but they could not adjust to the energy, the pressure, and everything that the Lions were bringing. And in those situations, I'm not an expert. I don't know if it's screen pass game. I don't know if it's just short intermediate routes, whatever it is. But there has to be a counter to it, because otherwise every defense would do that all the time. And so that kind of gets back a little bit to if Addison and Jefferson are winning more of their routes as well, that might have made a difference. But it did seem like the Vikings were flustered throughout the game and never were able to take a deep breath, settle down, and find something that could counteract what the Lions were doing. Because it came at them over and over and over again, and there was no adjustment to it. And so, yes, I do think, I agree. I heard you coming in, I think Dan Campbell probably wrapped up Coach of the Year with that performance, with all of the guys that they're missing and everything like that. They sold out and just did it, and they absolutely outcoached the Vikings in the biggest moment of the season.
It's a good operation, man. I know
impressive.
We like our operation, and things are promising, and the signs are good, but man, and again, this has been pounded into the ground endlessly, but it's worth repeating today. I don't think any team has invested in the offensive line as much as they have, and I think they got about 12 offensive. Sometimes they put all 11 of them on the field at the same time, which I think's legal. I don't know. They make it legal. I guess they check in with they report,
and if it isn't, they just take the penalty and go again.
They go again. That's it. They're willing to accept the punishment. that to me is where all this stuff starts. I mentioned with Guardsy too. It's fascinating what they do on a third. They often on 3rd and 7 they run the ball.
Yeah,
not necessarily because they think they're going to get the 7, but they go, okay, let's get 4, or we'll get 3, and then okay, we kind of we got a lot of plays for 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4, both running and passing. We don't ever do that on 3rd down. It's almost like, well, no, we're done running now. We ran, especially if on 1st down we run and it's for 2 yards.
Right.
Then that's it. That's it. We tried to run. Now we're going to throw the ball a bunch. And if you intend to go for it on 4th down, especially, it's sneaky good. Run the ball, knowing that we're going to get 2 cracks at this thing. And I do think it also gives the defense something else to think about. Now, again, if you having the greatest offensive line in football makes it easier probably to go that route. But to me, that's part of, I think, what the beauty of the Lions' identity is.
What I love about it is forever and ever, I have wanted an offense to take this mentality of it's a 4-down possession. It's not a 3-down possession. And because the way that the rules of the game are orchestrated, it is all for the offense. And so Dan Campbell has a great philosophy of this is going to be really, really hard to stop us. And so it doesn't matter if he's playing the Vikings, which is a very good defense, or another defense that is mediocre or worse. This is what the pressure that we are going to apply to you every single time we have the ball. And I think that there are plenty of offenses, including the Vikings at times, that let the defense off the hook by playing it as a 3-down possession.
No question.
I just think that is a really different approach by these lines.
We don't actually go. This year, O'Connell hasn't really gone for it on 4th down all that much.
And the other beautiful thing about it is that there have been times, including in the first game against the Vikings, where it didn't work.
That's true.
They
set
go
up
for
the
it on
first
4th down.
Viking score.
Yep, and you can get bit by it, but they have the courage of conviction that if we look dumb one time, you know what? But if we do this 10 times and it works out 7. Man, that is a game changer for you.
They're confident enough to believe they'll recover.
Exactly. They're not worried about the criticism that might come.
Because they were down 10-0 in that game, as I recall.
Yeah.
Do we get an answer to, late, was it in the 4th quarter? It was a fascinating moment to that point. The Lions are facing, I think, a 4th and 2 or 3 in the red zone. And if they kick the field goal, it's a 3-score game.
Yeah.
And on the TV, they're going, I know he's Dan Campbell, but I kicked the field goal here. And what did those SOBs do?
Yep.
They come to the line of scrimmage. Goff barks it out. We jump offside. They get the first down that way. Do we know if Campbell really, let's say if they hadn't gotten the penalty, were they going to call timeout and then kick the field goal? Were they going to call timeout and still go for it? Do we know whether they actually intended to follow through and go for it? Or that was just the bluff that worked out beautifully for them as we jumped offside.
So I don't know if he said that, and he may not say that to kind of hold the cards close to the vest. But this is another case of where that reputation works for him so well, because when they come out there,
they're going to go.
This SOB is crazy enough to do it.
Correct.
So we better be dialed in, and they are not just trying to fake us out. They are not just trying to bluff us. They're going to actually go for this, and it absolutely worked in their favor, because a lot of defenses against a lot of offenses say, "There's no way he's going to do this." Yeah. Hold your water,
right,
and make them call the timeout and kick the field goal. The Vikings clearly believed that the Lions were going to do this, and it absolutely bit them in the butt that they went out there hyper aggressive and jumped offside.
The Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line is wide open. Lots of good texts are coming in. Jonny Athletic is in studio. 64686. Johnny, brought to us by RBC Wealth Management. In our second segment with Johnny, we'll continue with the pro football discussion. Maybe talk a little bit about his favorite basketball team as well. He reminds me they are back in action tonight against the Clippers.
Right here on the Fan.
Right here on, it's on our flagship tonight?
It is.
Oh, even better. I guess we got to get used to that once we get knocked out of the playoffs next Monday night.
Wow.
Why would I say
negativity? Jeez.
Well, we are favored.
1.5 right now.
Ooh. I think it's moved all around. I thought at one point the Rams were favored by 1.
It's early.
People
are getting settled.
By game time, I'm guessing Well, no, by game time, maybe it'll be enough time had passed since the debacle, the massacre last night, that people go, wait a minute, the Vikings are a better team. The Rams are a cute little club, but how good are they? But they're sneaky, though.
It's dicey.
They're a sneaky club against us, as they proved the last time.
Another well-coached team.
Yeah, their offensive line
Tough
protects
defensive
well.
front.
Yeah.
2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's right. 2 wide receivers. We didn't even expect 2 wide receivers. We haven't even heard of one of them.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, and then he destroyed us, didn't he?
He's big time.
Yeah, he is big time. Yeah, no question about that. We'll get to some of your texts. We'll mix those in as well. Don't forget, Cam Bynum is scheduled to join us at 5:30, is it? 5:30 tonight, and Nacho Lieber at about 4:45.